The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Good morning. It is Thursday, August 5th. I am independent journalist Georgia Ford. Thank you so much for joining us. We're learning more about the Delta variant as more and more cases surface across the nation. What we know now is that the Delta variant is responsible for more than 80% of COVID cases nationwide. Joe Biden had a lot to say, especially in terms of the way Florida is dealing with the pandemic currently. Take a listen.
The escalation of cases is particularly concentrated in states with low vaccination rates. Just two states, Florida and Texas, account for 1/3 of all new COVID-19 cases in the entire country. Just two states. Look, we need leadership from everyone. If some governors aren't willing to do the right thing to beat this pandemic, then they should allow businesses and universities who want to do the right thing to be able to do it. I say to these governors, please help. But if you aren't going to help, at least get out of the way of the people who are trying to do the right thing. Use your power to save lives.
I know that we have talked extensively this week about children going back to school and the implications that this could have on them. Brother Mac and Ben, what are your thoughts on Biden's approach? I mean, it feels like he is putting this in the hands of governors statewide, but ultimately he does have a lot of control as the president as well.
As the commander-in-chief, where he knows he has power. For instance, he's mandating to the Pentagon about vaccinations and about wearing masks. So where he has control as commander-in-chief, he's flexing that control. He's respecting the fact that he cannot mandate to governors what they need to do in their state. So from that perspective, and I think that Biden is clearly following the guidelines of the CDC and Dr. Rochelle Walensky. So he's listening to the science. And as this variant mutates and changes, and according to science, when they see the new impact of it, Biden, unlike his predecessor, is making the appropriate changes. But again, I think that where he knows he has the power with employees of the federal government, because again, as commander-in-chief, where he can mandate to those employees, he's absolutely following the science on it.
And Ben, I know you're with us by phone. Your thoughts? Oh, I think we've lost him. Well, I want you guys to take a listen. Florida governor responded to Biden's remarks. And as many of you know, Florida's been a hot spot. DeSantis, here's his response to Biden.
Joe Biden has taken to himself to try to single out Florida over COVID. This is a guy who ran for president saying he was going to, quote, shut down the virus. And what has he done? He's imported more virus from around the world by having a wide open southern border. So his vision is, just like in New York City, restaurants should ban young kids from being able to go in because they're not eligible for vaccination, and law-abiding citizens have to produce proof of their medical records just to go to the gym or attend an event or just to participate in everyday society. He wants that, but yet if you want to vote, he thinks it's too much of a burden to show a picture ID when you're voting. So no voter ID, but have to show your medical papers just to be able to live in everyday life. Give me a break. And so I think the question is we can either have a free society or we can have a biomedical security state. And I can tell you, Florida, we're a free state. People are going to be free to choose to make their own decisions about themselves, about their families, about their kids' education, and about putting food on the table. And Joe Biden suggests that if you don't do lockdown policies, then you should, quote, get out of the way. But let me tell you this. If you're coming after the rights of parents in Florida, I'm standing in your way. I'm not going to let you get away with it. If you're trying to deny kids a proper
what does voting rights have to do with the pandemic?
I think it's clear. Go ahead, Georgia. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's really showing his Republican Party. The fact that you have the nerve to make this pandemic about how to vote, different hoops that people have to jump through to vote. The only thing that it has to do with the other is the fact that you've been voted into this position and you are failing your state. You're failing your state. Meanwhile, while you're saying that you're trying to give parents a choice, people are dying.
But what is clear to me is the reason why the pandemic has anything to do with voting. It's apparent that DeSantis has his eyes on the Oval Office. And I think that if Trump does not run for president of the United States in 2024, he is now positioning himself to run for that office. But, the other thing that we have to keep in mind is that when you talk about Florida, we should all recognize that Florida makes up about 6% of the U.S. population. Yet 1 in 5 of the new cases of this this COVID variant that is coming out in the state of Florida. So Florida is clearly a hot spot. And it is apparent that DeSantis is in a state of delusion when he talks about that. So when he makes the statement that we are a free state, well, the other thing that he needs to understand is, you're a free state, but you're an infected state. So how good is your free state when 1 in 5 of the new cases in the United States are coming out of your state? So what good is it to be free when you're infected and could potentially die?
That's right. Good morning, Georgia, and good morning, Dr. Mack. Good morning to everyone in the audience. Governor DeSantis is most certainly positioning himself to try to run for governor. He has seen that America is quite okay with the mediocrity of white men. And so he feels like this is his time to shine. He's never had this kind of opportunity to be such a lackluster leader and still be able to be considered for the presidency, because we're at an absurd time in American history where the height of your ignorance determines the altitude of your trajectory if you are a Republican. Now, there's some issues I have with the Democratic Party, and I'm going to talk about them on my time. But right now, DeSantis is exactly doing what Brother Mac said. He is leading a state with the highest rate of new infections. This is what's going on in Florida what's going across the country is atrocious. But what's underneath it is the level of ignorance that is rewarded for conservatives.
And what bothers me is, meanwhile, the cost that we're paying is people's health, people's lives. Folks really just want to get back to normal. And that is being delayed because of decisions like the one that DeSantis is making, to act like this is no big deal, to act like we haven't been dealing with this for more than a year already. At some point, it is going to require our leadership to put their foot down and to make tough decisions and to enforce, to make some requirements, whether that's continued mask mandates, whether that is all of a sudden now vaccination, proof of vaccination mandates. We have to start putting measures in place. Otherwise, as you see, we're going to get more variants, and these numbers are going to continue to increase. It's science.
Yeah.
One of the things that the governor also made a statement to, and again, he's following the playbook of Trump when he said that this new spike, and we're talking about a spike, we're talking about almost 51,000 new cases, not total cases, just new cases from the Delta variant that has appeared in his state, in the state of Florida. And so what he says is this is seasonal. And soon as I heard that seasonal, it reminded me, and I'm going to take a look at my notes, it reminded me of February 10th, 2020, when negative 45, Trump said, by April, in theory, it gets warmer and it miraculously goes away. So there's no attention to science here. He wants to just pretend that this spike is just like he said, it's seasonal. It's not very real. It's nothing that we have to worry about. And if we go back and think about what Negative 45 said in February of 2020, that this will miraculously go away. Well, 600,000+ American lives lost because he did absolutely nothing and followed the exact same, that playbook that he laid out is the exact same playbook that we're seeing DeSantis lay out. And we're clearly going to see, should he continue down that path, the devastation and the loss of lives in the state of Florida.
Yeah, that's the thing. We are talking about actual life. And I want everyone to always put into your mind that this is the way that the leadership of the conservative movement, the Republican Party, this is how they are handling your life, not just your life, but the life of your family and the life of your children. And so the fact that they are celebrating a man who is in DeSantis, they are celebrating a man who is creating policies that could literally get their children killed. They are cheering. I remember when there was a scene in the movie, in one of the Star Wars movies, where one of the protagonists said that this is how democracy ends, to thunderous applause. I had no idea that democracy would end by people applauding the death of their children. This is the sociopathy of the Republican Party.
And, Brother Dan, I also want to say this. The former governor of the state of Florida, Charlie Crist. So Charlie Crist said this about DeSantis. He says that he has a blatant disregard for the health and well-being of children and teachers. And that is clear when you look at the policy and the stance that he has taken against all science. Even if you were just ignorant to science, all you needed to do was just look at the way that Negative 45 handled the original COVID outbreak in this country. Look at the way that he handled it and look at the devastation. You don't have to go back and read books from way back when about what will happen if you ignore science and underestimate this variant, this virus.
Absolutely. I'm glad both of you touched on the way that this has been impacting children. I want you guys to listen to the governor of Florida as he was responding to the press and their questions and concerns about the virus and children. Take a listen.
Do you have any data to suggest that? Do you know if they were wearing masks? Well, they're not right. They're not eligible for the vaccination. I mean, that's not. I mean, well, so you're blaming the kids, saying they weren't wearing masks and so they're in the ICU. With all due respect, I find that deplorable. To blame a victim who ends up being hospitalized. You don't know their story. You don't know what happened with that. And this has been a really negative thing throughout this whole thing with some of these quote experts, some of the media. Somebody contracts a highly transmissible airborne virus, and they're viewed as having done something wrong. And that's just not the way you do it. When people come in, you treat them. We obviously have some people that are not vaccinated that have been admitted to hospitals. Are you going to sit there? Are you going to sit there and criticize? Or are we going to try to treat and try to help the folks? I'm just sick of this judge. I'm sick of the judgmental stuff on some of this stuff. Nobody's trying to get ill here. Okay, there's people that were hermits for a year and a half that wore 6 masks and did that and still contracted it. Okay, so let's just be real here, and let's not indulge these things that somehow it's their fault for not doing it. So okay, we'll see you guys later. Thank you.
That's exactly it right there.
So DeSantis has a very reactionary approach to the pandemic and asking for there not to be judgment. Yet we heard him making judgment in his previous statement against Biden. And so for me, DeSantis, it feels like he's trying to play both sides of the fence here. And meanwhile, playing Russian roulette with the citizens who live in Florida.
Well, Georgia, there's a reason why he had a very reactionary response to that. And it's because he signed an executive order banning the requirement of children to wear masks. So in a sense, when that question was asked to him, he realized that because of his executive actions as the governor of the state, the well-being of those children could very well be placed at his decision, a decision that he made. So when he's talking about what you don't know, He is a governor. He's a politician. He's not a biologist. So what does he know about the science of it? So even if you don't believe the science, at least believe the number of deaths that have occurred in the United States, around the world, and in your state. And if somebody recommends that part of what could curtail the death due to this virus, and at the same time protect the most vulnerable children by wearing a mask, because now he's recognizing that they're not qualified to be vaccinated. Well, why is that? Because, see, he's listening to the science of the CDC and the pharmaceutical companies, which are saying that we don't know that this is ready for children at this point. So he's listening to them on that position, right, but now wants to take the political position of, as you stated, playing Russian roulette with these children's and these people's lives by saying, look, vaccines should not be mandated. Wearing the mask absolutely will not be mandated, and goes so far as to sign an executive order banning the requirement of children to have to wear masks. That's why he has such a negative reaction to that question.
And that's why he ran off at the end. That's why he made sure that no one could have a follow-up question. I guarantee you it is going to be completely impossible for Ron DeSantis to have enough intellectual capacity to engage in a conversation with a real journalist without running away like he did in that video, because he knows he does not have the ability to answer in good faith. They have mastered the art of gaslighting. They are gaslighting us, and they're gaslighting us with our lives. And I want to recommend to the people of Florida that are listening, homeschool your kids. Get your kids out of this system, because this governor will sit here and make the conditions for your kids to get sick. And no matter what angle you try to complain, you can't even complain, because they make it impossible for your kids to wear masks, because they are banning masks. They don't care about your kids because they know they're going to put them back in schools without a vaccine, but they're not going to require masks, and they're encouraging, or rather they're discouraging people from getting the vaccine on the back end. So they are creating the exact conditions that are going to get somebody's child killed, and it's a game to them. Take your kids out of these public schools at this point.
But see, Ben, the other thing that is important is, and that's why people have to remember, that's why, shows like what you're doing, what we're doing right here, where we can now record and have a historical record of exactly the position that DeSantis took. And when that record is clear, and you now look at the devastation, he cannot go back and lay blame on anything or anybody else. It clearly lies at his fault. So what is absolutely clear is that he will not mandate vaccinations. He will not mandate the wearing of mask. And so when this virus reaps its devastation, clearly the actions that he took will be responsible for those lives.
That's right.
And I'm glad that you brought up the point about the record and documenting, because when we reflect on this pandemic and analyze truly the effectiveness of the American government in dealing with this pandemic, I think that we're going to realize that they failed grossly. And as we are entering this season with the variant, where we're having more cases and more deaths, and it seems like we're trying to do everything we can to avoid another lockdown, we have to ask ourselves, is the political leaders who are in positions to make these decisions, are they being motivated on what's really best for Americans? Or are they being motivated on what's best for the business owners' bottom line? Who is in their ear? Who funded their campaigns? And if we're being true, if we're being honest, we know that they're not making decisions based on what's best for our health, what's best on our children. To me, this is a very American thing that we're seeing play out. We're seeing that decisions are being made based on capitalism, not on what's best for American citizens.
And Georgia, when you talk about the record, that's why I keep going back to what -45, what he said and when he said it. And just please allow me to just give you two dates here. January 22nd, 2020, -45, as President Trump said, quote, "We have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China. It's going to be just fine," end quote. Then on February 24th of 2020, he said, speaking about capitalism, making money, quote, "The coronavirus is very much under control in the USA. The stock market is starting to look very good to me." So clearly, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brother Mac. No, I'm sorry. I thought that was go ahead. Finish the thought.
No, that's pretty much it. So again, when we're talking about keeping this record, we have to keep a record of just how the leadership, and I'm reminded of one of the world leaders who came, and I don't know if the brother came from Greece or if he came from Italy, but when he came here and they asked him about how devastating the outbreak of the coronavirus was in his country, he said, and at the time, it wasn't as devastating. The devastation hadn't come even close to what we now know it to be. But in the early stages, when Negative 45 was making these statements, they asked that leader, is there any advice that you would give to the United States? And he said, do not underestimate COVID. Do not underestimate it. And it is clear that is exactly what Negative 45 did. That is exactly what DeSantis is doing. And that is exactly what many Republican governors are doing. That's exactly what the Republican Party is doing. They underestimated COVID. They're clearly underestimating the new variant.
And the reason they're underestimating it is exactly what you said, Georgia. They have made a cost-benefit analysis. I don't know if you remember the fabled story that is rooted in true. It's a true story about the cars and the cost-benefit analysis that was made by a particular car company in the past that made the decision to not make the changes on vehicles that gave them safety, because the cost of making those changes would be greater than the cost of the lawsuits associated with death. There are companies and politicians. Ron DeSantis is one. The Republican Party and Donald Trump, they are all a part of a system that has made a cost-benefit analysis. It is more profitable for you to go back to work in the pandemic and for your kids to go to school unprotected for them if you die than it is for us to shut down and protect lives.
Mm-hmm. You know, in a sense, Ben, it almost seems as though that's the price they're willing to pay to, quote unquote, reach herd immunity. Let's just let enough, if enough of us get sick, if enough folks get infected, understand the devastation that'll take place. But then once that happens, the worst of the storm is past, and we now have reached herd immunity at the expense of people whose lives we could have saved if we had prompted and kept pounding the table about getting the vaccination as a nation, not as Republicans, not as Democrats, but as a nation of leaders who care about the well-being of human lives, if all collectively came together. Because if ever there is an issue in which common ground is needed, it is on the health and well-being of this nation. And clearly that is not the case.
That's right.
And in dealing with the variant, the Delta variant, I have not heard a lot about herd immunity. I mean, before the vaccination really rolled out, we heard that was the only thing we heard people talking about was how can we get to herd immunity? Well, now it seems like that is definitely not their motivation. Ben, you're absolutely correct that there's been a cost benefit analysis and they don't want to shut down because there were so many businesses, and not saying that I do either, but I don't want to get sick. I don't want my children to get sick either. And so how has a nation, created a process in order to make decisions that's based on monetary gain and not on people's lives or their health? The morale of America has eroded so much due to capitalism that we are prolonging this pandemic week after week, month after month. And the scientists have laid it out. It's very simple. But at the end of the day, we have elected governors who refuse to do the right thing, who refuse to put mandates in place to keep us safe. Because at the end of the day, I think that they're more committed to their friends, their buddies' bottom line than they are on our safety.
Well, Georgia, I'd also say this. They're more driven by the polls. If they have a base, a constituency that is anti-mask, anti-vaccination, they're going to go down that path. Now, when you talk about not having heard much about herd immunity with the new variant, it's because I'm not sure, and again, I'm not sure that the CDC or the pharmaceutical companies are absolutely confident that the current vaccine works against the new variant. So when they get to that point of understanding that it works against the new variant, then I think at that point, they'll make the analysis of how many people need to be vaccinated before we can now reach herd immunity. But I think that's why we're not hearing about herd immunity right now, because we're not sure that the current vaccines that are in place are effective against the new variant.
And when you realize that, you guys, this is all, excuse my language, it's just a big ass experiment at this point. I mean, at what point do you realize that we are in the petri dish, that we're under the microscope, and it's just a big experiment with our lives? That's really what it's starting to feel like, because there's so many uncontrolled variables, unpredicted variables that these scientists couldn't anticipate. And now we're here and they're back trying to figure it out.
Well, but listen, Georgia, in truth, that is what science is. Science is a big experiment. And the great gains that we have, the big medical breakthroughs that we have experienced in the world, not just in this country, but in the world, it started because somebody identified a problem. Then they began to understand all the variables that attributed to that problem. And then one by one, you have to change those variables with the intent of trying to get to your desired results. So as this virus keeps mutating, those variables keep changing. So it seems that some of us, that we think that scientists just ought to have the answers. We don't. And I'm saying we because to some degree, as an engineer, I'm in that science community. That is what you have to do. You have to, as quickly as you can, but as safely as you can, you have to keep testing, looking at the variables. And again, because this virus, it cares about preserving itself. It is going to continue to mutate. And as it mutates, it's developing defense mechanisms against whatever it is that we had as a vaccine. So as these variables keep changing, we have to keep trying. But to the point, had all of us, as a country, we did what they did in communist China. And again, they were able to do it in communist China because it is a communist government. When they said, don't come outside, they're not asking you not to come outside. They're telling you not to come outside. And there will be dire consequences if you disobey a communist government. But because we're in the system we are, of personal liberties and the likes, and we did not listen to the science of it all. Here we are a year and a half later, or a year plus later, not where we all think we should have been, and maybe where we could have been had we listened to the science at that time.
I absolutely
Ben,
agree with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're still with us and we get ready to wrap up here, what are your closing thoughts, especially on how parents should be thinking about this as they prepare to send their kids back to school?
Well, I was trying to keep myself on mute so that you guys wouldn't hear all of the ambient sounds of the South, and it ties directly with what I think we should do. I'm organizing across the South, and I'm connecting with people, particularly because we have to do what we have to do to protect our kids. The government won't. And I'm not leaving the safety of my children in the hands of sociopaths who are going to put the profits of companies over our children. So organize. Meet your neighbors, make sure that your neighbors are vaccinated, and then create a pod so that you can have some type of homeschooling with your community, safe, vaccinated homeschooling, so that you don't have to put your family's life at risk in the hands of people like Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Well, we are on the clock. I want to thank you all for joining us this morning. Stick around for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Turning minutes into hours into days. I'm thinking about I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah, everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah, close the match 'cause they were handed down to me, but I'm still fly.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's your boy DJ Exclusive. James Bubba Williams is in the building. Good morning, y'all. Hope y'all are ready for a great show. Make sure you stay tuned. Benjamin Nixon is coming up next, followed by Like It or Not. Shout out to Georgia Ford and Dr. Matt. Thank y'all for tuning in, holding it down. Good morning, everyone.
From the inside out, so right now, say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm free, ain't nobody take me.
Shout out everybody in the chat room this morning on YouTube. I see y'all. Good morning. Good morning, Mama and Daddy. Love y'all. Good morning.
It's my time to ride. I'm young, I'm free.
Nat, hey, good morning, Nat.
Nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time, it's my time to ride it out. It's my time, oh. Cheers to all the haters, 'cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you.
Brother Latif, you are funny, dude. That's dope as hell, though. Hey, I remember trying to do my niece's hair. At one point, my partner and I and my brother trying to do his daughter's hair. When I tell you, epic fail. Baby's hair was all messed up. I ain't gonna lie to you. 3 guys on one baby head. It was terrible. So terrible.
It's my time to ride it out. It's my time. It's my time. It's my time to ride it out.
Brendan Johnson, good morning.
Ain't nobody
Brother said, Bubba, Minister of Music. Hallelujah. I'm here.
Start to feel like I'm I'm on one. Settle in, I'll be here for the long run. I'm a slave for the cash, got snakes in the grass, no brakes on the ad, but it's all fun. We done seen it all, heard enough, give me space before I murder y'all. 10 bad here, I'ma curve them all. 12 missed calls and I still made a curtain call. Here to light it up, lighten up. Hear him talking, they ain't right enough, tighten up. Everything that I came for, I left with. I don't bang sets, I just bang on the set list. Going past supper when I came for the breakfast. Put me in your prayers, I might put you on the guest list. Young, reckless, gold in my soul, got the same necklace.
What somebody book in the chat said, did Bubba get a MacBook or a MacBook? Yeah, it's a MacBook, because this MacBook say like it or not. I'm gonna shut the hell down on you in the middle while you playing, streaming. Which is a punk ass MacBook. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so frustrated with this thing. But good morning again, everybody. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Mama, I see you talking about a crash book. Mama, go to hell. And then B talking about what happened is the MacBook crashed because it didn't want to be another accessory to a dad joke. You know what? Because y'all said that, give me 1 second. Dwayne, you ready for him? We're going to drop a dad joke on him, Dwayne. Let's see, Dwayne. Let's see what we have today. For you good people that's listening in the audience, here we go. All right, here we go. What rhymes with boo and really stinks? What rhymes with boo and really stinks?
What is it, James?
Dwayne, you know what it is?
What is it, James?
You.
See, these
motherfuckers talking about dad jokes.
Listen, let me tell you something about dad jokes, man. I live on dad jokes, right? Man can't live on dad jokes alone, but I'm doing pretty good in this season. Good morning, everybody. DJ Exclusive, how you doing this morning, man?
Man, I would be much better once I get this
computer situated.
Man. I'm good.
Oh man, listen.
Yes,
the truth is, we are facing some technical difficulties because we are pushing the envelope. I mean, but that's the truth. Like, we're pushing the envelope on what we can get out of these systems that are already built. The technology that we have, it's cool, but it's not enough. And some of those things we are working on in the background. So just know that whatever technical problems we have, we got people working on them. It's going to be nice. And shout out to everybody who. Go ahead, bro.
I was going to say, Ben, you're looking real digital over there today, man. Looking good.
Hey, Dwayne, make sure we can all hear DJ Exclusive. Man, I'm looking crispy this morning, man. The resolution is nice and clear. I'm audio only for people who are wondering what we're talking about on the podcast. I'm not on screen. I have a picture on screen, but I wanted to call in. First and foremost, I want to thank Noah Changa for stepping in and covering for me while I was traveling and holding it down. And James and you and Professor Mac and Rebecca and Georgia, you all have been doing an amazing job. I just want to rant for a few seconds before I bring James, you, and Brother Mac into the conversation, because I got to talk about Nina Turner and James Clyburn. And y'all just bear with me. Now, James, you do know, like, when to hit the abort button. So let's talk about the race. Go ahead, man. Yeah. Hold. Keep your finger on the trigger. Let's talk about the race in the 11th congressional district of Cleveland, of Ohio. The race that Nina Turner ran a spectacular campaign, but it is a special election, as Anoa pointed out yesterday. And the difficulty of getting people to show up in a special election, it is a challenge. It's particularly a challenge if you are not a super voter. Now, a super voter is a categorization that is someone who votes in every single election, whether it be a primary, a special election, or a general election. When we have special elections, you can count on the super voters showing up. Who are the super voters? Generally speaking, for the Democratic Party, the category of super voters include a lot of black, older generation, actually not Generation X, but boomers, the older generations. And to that end, the way that the Democratic Party has been very successful at holding a very tight grip on the black community as a whole has been that generational divide. And I want to be careful here with this conversation because I don't want to exploit or inflame is the word I'm looking for. I don't want to inflame a generational divide because the solution to winning material benefits for the black community is by us overcoming that generational divide that is exploited by the Democratic Party. Now, as we all know on this channel, we understand the clear and very present threat that people like Donald Trump poses. And this is why we need people like Nina Turner, who's able to speak truth to power on behalf of black people. But we saw that there was a concerted effort by the Democratic Party. Let's go down the list of people who endorsed the opposition to Nina Turner. And I want to be clear. I want to make one more distinction here. I don't know Shontel Brown. For all I know, Shontel Brown could be a dynamic person who's going to serve the 11th Congressional District well. So I'm going to set her aside because I have not had a chance to have a personal conversation with her. But I have had personal conversations with Nina Turner, and I know what she stands for. And I know what she fights for. And I know she's not done fighting and that she's going to keep fighting because we're going to help her keep fighting because we need leadership that will do exactly what Nina Turner is trying to do. And that is to get benefits, material, tangible benefits. What do I mean? Medicare for all. Some of your parents, my father would be alive right now today if he had a doctor through his life, but he was a working class man. And he did not have insurance, and he died at an early age because he couldn't go to a doctor and keep a regular prescription because he did not have insurance and could not afford his medication. That story is replicated in the black community ad nauseum. And yet we have people like James Clyburn. Bring that brother on the screen. James Clyburn from South Carolina is an active participant in blocking us from getting tangible benefits for the black community. He has been put up every single time we try to get something. This black man is put up in order to stop us. Now, I want to talk about his district. Because as he's going to Cleveland, Ohio to stop Nina Turner, because he's the number one person they sent to Cleveland, Ohio. The Democratic establishment sent James Clyburn to Cleveland, Ohio to stop Nina Turner. They sent Hillary Clinton to stop Nina Turner. And it is not because they know anything about Shontel Brown, because they didn't even know who she was before they heard Nina Turner was running. James Clyburn only went to Ohio because he stalked Nina Turner to stop the black radical tradition. Why am I making that conclusion? Because I've been doing this thing long enough to realize that they do not want the black radical tradition to ever get political power. And that is what Nina Turner, Cornel West, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, that's what they represent. And how do you stop it? Well, you have to pretend something. Put Nina Turner back on the screen. This is what they pretended this last week. I saw the advertisements. I was in the district. I was on the ground. I saw how they try to make Nina Turner seem simultaneously insufficiently black and too black. I want to run that by you one more time. As I talk to people on the ground, I talked to a bus driver right there on the corner of, let me get my corner right. It's in my mind, Superior and Euclid, right at the intersection of Cleveland's Town Square, where the memorial is. I talked to a bus driver there, and he was like, I like Nina Turner, but she's too tough. And then he says, but is she really? Because a lot of black folks in the Democratic Party don't like her. So is she? How can you simultaneously be too black, but not black enough? How can you be too aggressive, but not be good enough to represent the black community? That's because they have mastered the art of ensuring that there is only one type of leadership that is allowed to foment to the top of the Democratic Party, and that will never be the type of leadership that is demanding actual, tangible, material benefits for black people. Do you think James Clyburn who's going to fight for reparations? James Clyburn or Nina Turner? Because they sent James Clyburn to take down Nina Turner. Who's going to fight on behalf of black people getting Medicare for all so that your parents and your grandparents, well, your grandparents are probably fine because they got Medicare. But what about your 30-year-old son who's dealing with type 1 diabetes, who can't get his insulin because of the price of insulin is too exorbitant? I'm sorry if I'm speaking with a little bit of passion, but I've been on the ground enough to realize the games that these people have played.
And I've seen them do it. And the number one tool that they have to stop black people from getting tangible benefits from this country, everybody else is getting reparations. What black folks getting? Everybody else is getting something from this government. What are black people getting from this? We can't even get them to protect voting rights. We can't even get them to protect our right to vote because they value the filibuster more than they value our rights as black people to vote. But they got enough energy to send Hillary Clinton, James Clyburn, and the entire cabal of the Misleadership class to Cleveland in order to stop progress. Now, I got many things more to say about James Clyburn, but we're going to do them with receipts. I'm going to South Carolina, James. Mr. Clyburn, Congressman, I'm going to South Carolina, and I'm going to talk to everybody black down there because I got a sneaky suspicion that you ain't representing your district right, brother. Let's talk about it. I got a couple of receipts right here before we move on to the first clip. I want to talk about the fact that in his district, in James Clyburn's district, the median income for black people is less than what you get anywhere across this country. James Clyburn, black people in his district, and I'm trying to pull up the exact numbers because I got to give it to you. Black people in his district are not doing well because he represents a district where the median income is lower than anywhere else in the state of South Carolina. He represents a poor district. If we go county by county, there may be counties that are poorer than his particular county, but then in his district, because there are poor white neighborhoods. I want to be clear. I don't want people to mistake anything that I'm saying as a way of supporting the conservative movement, Republican Party, Donald Trump. Everybody on this show, everybody in our orbit knows that they had to go, and we all teamed up. We teamed up with James Clyburn. We teamed up with Hillary Clinton. We teamed up with Joe Biden. We teamed up with everybody because Donald Trump, -45, was a clear and existential threat to this country. But now that he's gone, what about the poverty in your system, in your district, James Clyburn? Why is it that the median median household income is $41,128 compared to your income as a senator, as a congressperson, it is $174,000. The Democratic Party is doing fine for Jim Clyburn, but it is not doing fine for the people, for the black people in his district. James Clyburn makes $174,000 a year as a black man, and he is doing and using his time to tell you not to vote for people like Nina Turner. But the people in his district only make $41,128 a year. Something's not right with that. I got a lot more. I'm doing this impromptu this morning, but I'm going to South Carolina and I'm talking to the beauty salons. I'm going to talk to the barbershops. I'm going to talk to the Amazon drivers. I'm talking to the brothers. I'm right now covering a story in the South. I don't want to tell you what city I'm in. I'm covering a story about Amazon, and I'm not going to give more details other than the fact that Amazon is taking over the South. I guarantee you I'm going to find the same conditions, the exploitation of Amazon happening in this man's district because it's happening in black districts across the South because we have black leadership that while they have the form of blackness, they are denying the radical tradition thereof. Brother Mac, I hear you in the background. I got so much more, man. I want to go, but I want to still, I got a lot more receipts to piece together. But Doc, I'm at a stage in this evolution where I'm trying to balance the relationship between knowing the threat that the Republicans pose, but understanding that there's a game that the Democratic Party has been playing in the form of stopping us from getting, they won't even protect our right to vote at this point.
You know, listen, my brother, I think, when you got the receipts and when you say you have those receipts and those receipts are as devastating as what you're laying out, go ahead. It's okay to be close to the edge right there. So your passion is well warranted. But, you know, what I'm hearing from you is that, you know, and when we, you know, you're far more astute in the political realm of this country than I. So from a power standpoint, how would you rate Clyburn from a power standpoint?
Oh. That's a great
congressional leadership of this country. How would you rate him?
James Clyburn is the whip of the House of Representatives, which makes him the third most powerful Democrat in the House of Representatives, which makes him the third most powerful Democrat in the country. He's in the top echelons.
So if you put it to that, if you put it in that perspective, How could one of the most powerful men in this country, not one of the most powerful black men, but one of the most powerful men in this country, have one of the poorest districts in this country? Can you help explain it to me?
Yeah, I absolutely will. The problem is if I'm going to engage in good faith with James Clyburn, then I am not going to blame the entirety of the poverty that's happening in his district on him, because the poverty that's happening in his district is happening across the country. And I may have to, because like I said, I'm in the South and someone just cut on a lawnmower. It is not his problem by himself, the reason that his district is so poor, but it is his fault that he is actively standing in the way of us changing the conditions across the country that keeps his district and other districts poor.
Well, I think one of the ways we can look at it is take a look at what the median income for black families in his district was when he went into office, and then what has been the rate of change of that annual income today. And if there's very little growth that has occurred economically for the constituents in his district, that's a direct reflection on him, especially.
That's right.
But you got to remember this too, Ben. When you are one of the most powerful men or powerful people in the country, change will come about. You'll be able to get.
That's right.
Because part of what I'm hearing in regards to Nina Turner and Sister Turner, and from what I've gathered, is he used that power from a political vendetta. There were some vendettas that were there. The fact that Nina Turner endorsed
Bernie Sanders
versus Clinton. So now Clinton's pissed off with it. And if there's one thing we know about the Clintons, bygones, let bygones be bygones, ain't part of their mantra. They want to seek revenge. And from what I understand, when Nina Turner had an event with rapper activist Killer Mike, they called Clyburn stupid for having endorsed Biden. Well, you got to believe that. And I think even from Clyburn's own words, he took issue with that. And he said, look, if I'm going to be stupid, then let me show you how stupid I can be. I'll get right directly involved in it. So it appears to me that there was some personal vendettas going on, but you would know more than I. So if you could speak on that.
Yeah, no, you're hitting at the very core of it. Jim Clyburn represents the Democratic establishment. And the Democratic, I'm traversing a very tedious balance here, because to be fair to the Black misleadership class, you all are yourselves a reaction to white supremacy. James Clyburn is probably thinking he's doing the very best he can to fight against a white supremacist system in the way that he's determined this is the best path for him to fight. I think what we're trying to tell him, as well as the rest of the leadership class, is that it is a woefully insufficient approach. And that's the most respectful way that we can say it. It's time for them to get out of the way if they cannot see how they are being detrimental to the progress of black people. Now, back to your question, or to the sentiment of the statement, rather, as to the pettiness of the feud. The Clintons do not forgive. The Clintons are literally riding on the fact that all of us were so impressed with with Bill Clinton playing his saxophone on Arsenio Hall back in the 90s that man has gotten a pass on everything. He played on Arsenio Hall in the 90s and then stood out in front of Stone Mountain with black people in chains, demonstrating how he was going to be a good Dixiecrat. But we let him slide.
And keep in mind, that was before he ushered in the 3 strikes law.
That's right.
And if I'm not mistaken, Biden was a part of that. And for those whose memories aren't that long, please remember, it was the 3 strikes law, even by Bill Clinton's own admission, that has put and incarcerated a numerous amount of black men and black folk, period. But go ahead.
And that's the absurdity of it all. The absurdity of it all is that you all better be glad you had Donald Trump in power, because the resume of Joe Biden in the 94 crime bill and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton calling us super predators. See, there's a lot that black people have had to ignore in order to get rid of the rabid, racist, white supremacists that it is inside of the Republican Party. We have had to ignore, and it is exactly the case of what Nina said. When you make us choose between 94 Jim Crow, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump, that is not a choice that is a good choice for black people. But black people have been pragmatic, and we have constantly gone with the lesser of two evils because we understand the importance of, or we understand the way evil can really go. If Donald Trump was still president right now, we'd be in a hell of a lot more trouble. So there's no confusion about whether or not we should have got rid of Donald Trump. But that work is done. Donald Trump is gone. What is the Democratic Party doing for black people? They're not even protecting our vote. And James Clyburn is being sent into some critical situations. When we talk about the situation with the police, they send him out there to say, we don't want any sloganeering. No, brother, this is not about sloganeering. This is about police killing us. And so if we have to say defund the police and you don't like our vernacular, then don't destroy our movement. Come and help us by helping us instead of being sent to the 11th district to stop us. Because Nina Turner is on a mission, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Joe Biden sent a black man to stop a black woman, and we're not doing that no more. Not in the year of our Lord 2021. That's the last time, Ben, Jim.
And so, Ben, what I'm hearing is, and that's part of the problem for sure. You know, here Clyburn is saying we don't want to hear slogans like "Burn, baby, burn." You know, in the case of Bernie Sanders and the progressive ideology that he had. We don't want to hear slogans like defund the police. See, Democrats want to play so fairly when clearly the opposition, and I'm not talking about the opposition of the Republican Party. I'm talking about the opposition to the progress of black folk. The opposition does not play fairly, but yet you want to go out there and in a very nice way to make sure that you don't upset the power structure, if you will. I don't want to hear those type of sloganeers. So to your point, it's about what is the impact that has caused us, you know, and therein lies that that quote again. If a soul is left in the darkness, sins shall be committed. But the crime is not he who committed the sin. It's he who caused the darkness. See, Sister Turner is working on he who caused the darkness.
The darkness. Come on.
That's what she's focused on, where it appears that Clyburn and others may be worrying about the sin itself.
And I'm willing, Brother Mac,
who that quote is attributed to, Victor Hugo.
I am willing. And I want everyone to really understand the level to which I personally am willing to work with anybody black and anyone who wants progress. And that's inclusive of our elder statespeople who have gone before us. I want to recognize, I had a chance to meet Jim Clyburn in South Carolina during the primaries of 2020. We were both on MSNBC on a particular episode. He had the first segment, I had the second segment, and we got a chance to shake hands. This was pre-pandemic. I respect Jim Clyburn, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to turn every bit of my investigative prowess. I mean, I've dealt with people with more resources than Jim Clyburn. And the reason I'm making him a personal thing is because they personally tracked down and followed Nina Turner to her district. They stalked her and would not let our sister have peace even in her home. And they have made it clear that they are making people who stand for the black radical tradition the enemy of the Democratic Party. Well, I will personally, no one else is going to be held accountable for my approach to this, but I'm coming to your district. I'm going to every district where there is a black misleadership Democratic person, and I want to see how the poorest person is doing in your district compared to how well you're doing as a congressperson. And let's see if the Democratic Party is doing as good for the people of your district as it's doing for the congressperson that's elected from your district. That's going to be my mission, along with Jeff Bezos. I got my eyes on Jeff Bezos here in the South. I know he
he is no longer with Amazon, but it is still paying his bills, and they are taking over. So we're looking at that. We're looking at a lot of stories, which is why you don't see me on the screen, everybody. I thank you, Dr. Mack, DJ Exclusive, for holding it down while I'm traveling. But I got the travel bug, and there's just so many stories on the ground that connect to the national conversation. I want to say this, and then I know we got to transition. Go outside. Go outside into your community. Go to a neighboring community. You as a black person, if you're authentically black, which I'm sure everybody who's black is authentically black, you could blend in anywhere in the South, so long as you actually are from here. And I say that to say, go into your communities and talk to the people, talk to the Amazon drivers, talk to the Walmart employees, talk to the people and ask them how they are doing. And I promise you, they're going to tell you that they got a problem with the political system. And you're going to find out that their representative is a part of the black misleadership class. So I digress.
There's two words to describe Amazon: world domination. So it's not about Amazon simply trying to take over the South. You know, Amazon started in Seattle, and I was up there during that time. But since I left, you go down to downtown Seattle, and Amazon probably occupies almost 50% of the office space in Seattle. Gentrification occurred at a rapid rate because of the amount of folks that Amazon employed. Now, as far as working conditions, it's clear that we've heard about some of the harsh working conditions within Amazon. I don't know where they are. As far as I know, their rate of pay is supposed to be fairly decent, but maybe there's some good and bad to it. But again, you'll bring the receipts back and
actually, I have some photos. I've been talking to some drivers here in the city that I'm in, and I'm trying to be mindful of. We're going to center this push around Bessemer, Alabama, where they made the union push for Amazon a few months ago, and it was sabotaged by the corporate power structure of Amazon. I mean, they sent the man into space, so clearly they could stop a union effort. But that said, I have photos, and I've been talking with drivers. They are not only urinating in their trucks, they are having to defecate in their trucks because they don't have a union to protect them from the efficiency standards that are being forced on them, making them having to pee as they stop to get gas. Pull up to a gas station in your neighborhood and talk to the Amazon drivers. Everybody. Go ahead, sir.
And Ben, let me break this down for people so that you can understand exactly what Brother Dixon is talking about. All of us love the convenience of Amazon. You can order something and you're going to get it next day, or in some cases, you can get it the same day. That just doesn't magically happen. That means that, unlike on your job where you can take 2 or 3 breaks to do whatever, at Amazon, it is widely known that in that factory, you are going from gun up to gun down from the time you clock in to the time you clock out. And so the same thing with those drivers. In an effort for them to assure that you getting your product same day, so all those conveniences that we all like, it's coming at somebody's expense. And so, to your point, there isn't a balance against adequate work conditions versus trying to satisfy customers to make sure that they get it, when they said they want to get it. The same way with prices. If you want to take a look at when you go to a store and you're able to buy products and the price is so low, that price is going to be low because the labor used to make that product was so low.
Exactly. It's exploitative. And so the question that we have to ask as black people, because the reason I'm focusing on blackness is because of all the different ways America tries to dictate the type of blackness that is acceptable to its plans. We reject that framing. We're no longer concerned about what white America says black should be. But what I have noticed here in the South at every stop, and you're right, they are all over this. It is world domination. And they're doing it here in America on the backs of black people every driver I've seen has been a black person in the South. Doesn't mean there are no white people, but I just say that to say that once again, we see an empire being built off the backs and the labor of black people. And we are this is being facilitated by leaders in our community that give advantages to Amazon to come to our community because it's an impressive thing to say that you're the mayor of a small town and you got Amazon. Well, you got Amazon, but you also got a job that people have to urinate in the van in order to get that next day delivery to the person who's in the leading edge of gentrification in that neighborhood. But I digress.
But listen, just to add balance to it, listen, if I were the mayor of an impoverished city because there were no jobs there, I would absolutely welcome a company like Amazon. But now, to your point, although I would welcome Amazon, I'm certainly not going to welcome the exploitation of Amazon. So there has to be give and take on both sides. But what is happening, and we saw that when Amazon was looking at a new world headquarters or a new national headquarters.
That's
national world. And New York was one of, it was almost the entire United States was bidding on it. You had folks in Houston and San Antonio bidding on it, folks in the DC area bidding on it, folks in New York, and New York rejected it. And ultimately, they settled into this area, Arlington, Virginia, which is a couple of miles away from D.C. So I can understand wanting to bring a corporate entity into your state, into your city that's going to provide jobs. But it cannot be at a level where employees are exploited and wages aren't fair, working conditions aren't fair. We've seen that, which is why, again, I think I heard you mention this back in the early days of capitalism in this country, where there were no child labor laws and they didn't give a damn who made it, children, whomever. And that's why you had the advent of unions. Now, obviously, we could talk about all the goods of unions, but we could talk about all the ills of unions. And trust and believe, being a black worker, you got far more ills within those quote unquote brotherhood of unions, as you could lay out the good side of it. So it's a lot of pieces to it. And I trust and believe that you're going to bring those receipts like it or not.
Yeah, no, we're bringing photos, we're bringing documents because the people want to talk about it. I'm going to tell you the truth. The reason I'm so encouraged is because I have yet to find anyone, and it's not just Amazon. We're looking at Walmart. We're looking at some of these smaller labor relations as it pertains to Black lives is a critical issue. And we're going to get ready to go to a break and come in with like it or not. But I want to leave it with this. To your point, it is absolutely a smart move as a leader of a small town to get business for your people in your city. Absolutely. What we saw in New York was Amazon didn't like the deal because New York is unionized enough to say that you're going to have to treat our workers right. And so Amazon did not take that particular deal. I'm thinking, I believe it was in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez district in New York. They didn't take that deal because they needed. There is the way you go to space in a capitalistic system is with cheap labor. They need cheap labor. And so they find themselves able to get that cheap labor, particularly in the South, specifically because most of the South is a right to work state. And so you find states like Florida, Georgia, Alabama. Amazon loves these states because the Republican leadership of these states don't give a damn about the people or any idea of unionizing. And so this is it is a two-front battle. We have to continue to fight against Republicans who are stopping unionization efforts, and we must also call out Amazon and all of these big corporations that have plenty of money to take care of their employees, but leave it to the taxpayers through subsidies. Go ahead, Brother Mac, before we go to break.
But Ben, listen, again, the balance side of it is, take a look at what the hourly wages are with organizations like Amazon, because we've seen this play out maybe 20 years ago. Remember when all of the automotive industry was up north?
That's right.
And because of challenges up north, I don't really know all of those challenges. Now, how much of the automotive industry has moved to the South? Because I can tell you right now, being from Jackson, Mississippi, right outside of Jackson, when you pass Canton, I think
is that the Nissan plant?
It's the Nissan plant.
That's it.
When you're going north on 55, you could be doing 75 miles an hour, and 3 minutes later, you could still look over there and you still see the Nissan plant. That's how
man, that Nissan plant in Jackson is huge. It reminds me of the Kia plant on I-10 going between Montgomery and Atlanta. So you're right. They put these factories in the South.
And then all through Georgia and Alabama, I think you all got Mercedes plants down there. So the automotive industry moved down there because, again, the hourly wage labor was cheaper. But now, even though it was cheaper than it was in the South, was it far more than what other hourly wage jobs in the South were.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a way of trying to bring
it's a race
balance.
to.
Right.
It's a race to the bottom. The end of that, the logical conclusion of that is the displacement of labor altogether and the outsourcing. You've seen that. We saw that. We got to go to a break. I want to finish that thought, but Dwayne and DJ Exclusive, get us some music. But the closing thought on that, before we go to Like It or Not, is that we've yet to see a level of satisfaction from any corporation, from the powerful corporations, that they are willing to settle with a level of salary. And what I mean by that is we've seen the race to the bottom go all the way down to child labor before. We've seen it go all the way down to exploiting sweatshops across overseas, women being put into sweatshops in order to produce Nike shoes, right? We've seen how far they go. And if we don't have elected officials who are willing to hold the line with corporations have demonstrated that they will keep going until they find the cheapest labor, all the way to the point of this country's history with slave labor. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Like It or Not, Rebecca Zora is joining us. The Benjamin Dixon Show, Like It or Not, on the clock. We'll be right back after this.
All right, y'all. Make sure that y'all stay tuned. Like It or Not is starting up next. And I still can't get my music playing, but it's okay. Dwayne come through with the jams every time, y'all. It's time for the roll call. Roll call, it's time to go down. Good morning again to Tyler. Good morning, Nat A. E. Smith. Shout out, brother Chuck Diesel. Chuck Diesel, what's going on, sir? Afraid Not. Savage Sweetheart, good morning. Esther Brochin, good morning. Good morning. Bryce, what's going on, brother Bryce? Goku, good morning. And Nicole, good morning. Roller Dragon, good morning. Black Magic, good morning. Brother Mark S. Pray Day. Mara, Destiny Claire, good morning. Six Dragon Daddy, Savage Sweetheart, good morning. Tiger Katsune, thank you for your super chat. He says, Bubba Dwayne David, please make sure Ben sees this. If you're going to go after Amazon in Virginia, hit me up. Let's tackle this giant. Shout out, Tiger. Tiger, good morning to you. Woo, let's see here who I miss. Truth the Dragon, good morning. Industrial Arts. Denver, brother, what's going on? Courtney, the SLP. B, good morning, B. Melanie Dennis, good morning. Lavelle M, good morning. Miss Nuru, shout out Jam Tomb on Twitch, and everybody streaming on Twitch right now. Rachel Lettany and all of the team over there. Anna Hart, good morning. Let's see if I missed anybody. Nat A, Nat M, all the Nats in the building. There's like 5,000 of y'all, so good morning, good morning, good morning. And lastly, did I get Blue Daddy? Good morning. D. Will, good morning. Shelby Hall, I keep going and said I'm done, but nah, it's never done. Man Shovel, here's a 5-spot twerk, the new equipment. Keep up the excellent work. Thank you so much, Man Shovel. I appreciate that. Good morning to you. Michael 147, good morning. And I think that's it, y'all. We're going to get to Facebook and everybody else when we get a chance. So y'all, good morning. Good morning. Like It or Not is coming up next. So make sure you stay. See, I had to stop because I forgot DB404. Good morning. Brother Lateef, good morning. And also Alicia. Good morning, sister. Love you. Barbara Ebron, good morning. I know Sophia Williams is somewhere. Hey, Miss Sophia. Roller Dragon, what's going on? Carly Wynn, good morning. Shadow Boy 329, Shadow Boy. Got to see you through, my boy. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Moon Meat, good morning. You're right, I'm never done. Jesus. Pray Nate, good morning, good morning. Lily, Carly Wynn, good morning, y'all. Courtney, the SLP. Okay, if I missed anybody, y'all better drop y'all name in this chat, especially if I'm on YouTube. Keegan, good morning. Say, good morning. Dustin Draconis, good morning. I know you're watching another chat room as well, too. Did I miss anybody? Okay, I think I got everybody. Whew. And breathe. Jennifer Schaefer, good morning to you. All right, I need to make sure I get over to Facebook in a second, y'all, as well, too. Cactus Kane, good morning.
Get some mud into you, that much. So goodbye, my love. Already found someone that I'm thinking of.
like it or not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning. Prince, y'all. Snow White, Prince, 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 and then picture, Prince, Prints. Someday my Prince will come.
James, I think I would prefer
Prince will come.
Notwithstanding the fact that we have, little ears listening, I think I would prefer dirty jokes over some dad jokes sometimes. It took me forever to figure out what the hell you were talking about, James. Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth.
Now you can't doesn't like it. Y'all just slow as hell. That's all that is.
That's all. Hey, Ben, it ain't that he's talking fast. We just listening slow.
I want to give a shout out. Let me give a shout out to Tiger in the chat room. He said, Belba, Dwayne, David, please make sure Ben sees this. If you're going after Amazon in Virginia, hit me up. Let's tackle this giant. The number one thing I'm going after, to be honest with you, is not Amazon directly as much as the organizing mindset. The number one tactic, we got some videos to go through, and I just want to address this comment. The number one tactic that we saw happen in Bessemer, Alabama, when black women were organizing Amazon to organize a union, because Amazon is one of the biggest employers in this country. I believe it is the biggest employer, rivaling Walmart, and it is not unionized. And black women in Bessemer, Alabama, spent the good part of 2020 organizing, trying to get a union to protect workers. It is true that Amazon pays well, comparatively speaking, for the South. Absolutely the case. But the treatment of the employees is what the black women in Bessemer, Alabama were trying to make sure was taken care of properly. And we noticed some techniques that were extremely malicious. What they did, the divide and conquer tactic, again, with black people. They offered younger black people a couple of extra dollars. Right. There were so many different techniques, but one of them was they divided young black men, separated from black women who were doing the organizing. And I feel like that's something that we can fix, because if people understand the game that is being played on them and they know what's coming, then I think the organizing efforts can succeed more. But as I talk to the Amazon employees across, because you see them everywhere you drive, right? It's not just the South. Like you said, Brother Mac, anywhere you go, you're going to see these major factories across the South. And it's not just Amazon. It's labor relations in general. But some of our power has to be in our ability to organize black people for what's in the best interest of black people. And whenever we see powerful people use their resources, their money, or their influence to divide black folks, that's what I think. I think we got to start calling people to the woodshed, Brother Mac. I think we should really be clear and also have receipts and have everything. That's why I'm gonna take my time with this one. I'm gonna bring a whole dossier of receipts, because we want to make sure that as black people are trying to get what we need, that we understand the games that are being played to stop us. So that's Tiger. I just wanted to say that. Thank you for that super chat, and it reminded me of the exact reason why. It's not just Amazon. It is the divide and conquer tactics that have been used against black people since we got to this country.
And you got to understand. You got to also understand, when you talk about the games, first and foremost, at the very apex of that whole system, you have to understand that America is a capitalistic society. And in order for that capitalistic society to work, if I'm putting my resources at work, of course, I'm trying to maximize the most I can from that. And at the core of it is labor cost. So just like when we saw the great migration of black folk out of the South up to the North, and up in the North where you had deplorable working conditions, well, when we came up and we looked at what those hourly rates were, even though to others they may have been substantially low, when we came from working conditions where we got paid little to nothing, well, that looked very attractive. And so what ended up happening, as those corporations or those companies decided, hey, to the white workers, forget you, I don't have to deal with you. I'll bring all these black workers coming in and I can pay them lower. Well, then that caused a rift between labor unions and black folks. It's a lot of games. The games also can revolve around age. if all of a sudden I've been at a company for 10 or 15 years and I'm making X thousands of dollars, that company can now look at it and say, well, if I had a layoff, I can lay Carl off because Carl is making X thousands of dollars and bring in this young person for a fraction of that cost.
That's right.
So the games are multiple, but and again, so when you're taking a look at it, it's a big piece to look at. But trust and believe, if there's anybody that can look at it from a holistic viewpoint and look at it from all angles and all sides, it's our chief, Ben Dixon.
Well, one thing like it. Well, I appreciate it. I do want to say this, and I want to bring up the graphic of Noah Changa because she's been holding it down for me. And then, David, I want you to introduce the first video that we're going to look at. But I want to thank Noah. Can you all do me a favor? Send Noah a little tip. Thank her for hosting for me this week, and she's going to be back tomorrow. We want to bring her into the fold. So if you want to Noah, send her some love. She did not ask for this. As a matter of fact, she probably don't even know I'm doing it. She might be mad that I'm doing it. But y'all know I love my friends, especially when my friends take care of me, especially when my friends are as brilliant as a Noah Changa. Cash App, The Way with the Noah. Send my sister some love. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to take care of my sister because I take care of people who hang out with me, but I know this is your opportunity to thank her as well because I simply love brilliant people, and Noah is by far one of the most. I put it like this: I think she might be one of the few people I think is like can make me think twice about going into a debate with her. I don't think I want to ever debate Noah Changa. So y'all send her some love for me. The Cash App, The Way with the Noah. David. Let's get us up all on the screen, and me, Professor Mack, and then David, introduce this first video. Who we have to talk about here, man?
Hey, good morning, everyone. So, if you've missed it with all the other noise going on, Obama's having a birthday bash, or he was having a birthday bash, and it was originally, I think, 500 people. Apparently now he's made it like a very small thing because there was backlash over it with COVID. But here's Senator John Kennedy on Fox News thinking that I guess Obama still runs the country. B1, Dwayne.
The single biggest thing that has undermined our efforts to make the American people understand we're in the fourth wave is President Obama's decision to hold a birthday bash with 400 people. Now, I've never seen something so irresponsible. He knows better. He needs to cancel it and have a beer and a personal pan pizza at home with his wife.
Well, I got some breaking news for you. He's done just that. Only family and friends. He scaled it back considerably for this weekend.
Well, he needs to cancel it. Scaling it back won't get it.
Noted. Senator, thank you for your time. We'll speak again soon.
Thank you,
Senator
Bill.
Kennedy, you bet. Dana.
It shouldn't matter what the hell this man wants to do. It's his business. If he's talking about he hadn't seen that. You've been seeing that for the past year and a half, brother. Yes, the hell you have. Your state is one of the worst goddamn states going on right now. The hell you talking about? God damn it. Yeah.
Hey, now let me add something to this here, Bubba. He says I ain't never seen anything like that. Hold up, wait a minute. Let's put a little thought in it. See, Obama is no longer president, right? Let's first establish that. But you say you've never seen anything like this? Let me take him back just a little bit when Negative 45 was in office and they had this big event on the White House lawn in the absolute middle of the pandemic. Nobody vaccinated, nobody with masks, and they got it right there on the White House. You've never seen it before?
Never.
Play out. Come on.
Come on now.
And James, when you jumped in right away, I thought you were gonna go with the Babecca. What's your name when you by yourself? It's not Babecca when you by yourself, but the sheer ignorance.
It's just Bubba. Look,
Bubba, just Bubba. Bubba. Have y'all? This man, can you put him back on the screen? Can y'all put Kennedy back on the screen? And he's from Louisiana. We can, if we go through the metrics for his state, the poverty in Louisiana, the COVID vaccine, the COVID rates in Louisiana, the number of deaths in Louisiana. This man has the cognitive capacity of a sloth, and he wants to insult President Obama's strategy for COVID-19.
But Ben, hang on now. When COVID was hitting, when COVID was in its genesis, right? And you had all the scientists telling you it's not if the COVID virus was going to hit America, it's when. Do you think that Kennedy came out and said anything about canceling Mardi Gras? And trust and believe, Mardi Gras set the state of Louisiana into an absolute free fall. So I'm gonna say this to you, Ken. I'm not saying you're on crack, but you damn sure sound crack-ish. Like it or not.
Like it? Well, Dr. Mike, I don't like how you're talking to me right now. It seems like you forgot that we had a whole party on January 6th in the White House lawn. It was called the terrorist attack. Y'all call it an insurrection, but we just called it, we were just having a protest. That's all it was. Motherfucker,
Hey,
get off the screen.
If I'm not mistaken, Lil Charlie Kirk sponsored to go to that.
Lil Charlie, never forget. Lil Charlie Kirk was the motherfucker that sponsored 80 buses to go to the Capitol on January 6th. Never forget.
Brother Mac.
Dr. Mac?
Yes, sir.
He ain't gonna ever forget. Brother Mac, how are you simultaneously such an insightful, intellectual, and brilliant brother, but you petty as hell? You ain't gonna let Charlie Kirk. He ain't gonna ever forget that.
Hey, understand, because I'm telling you right now, man, the words of Malcolm are in me, man, when Malcolm said the most disrespected, most hated group of people in this country are black women. And for this fool, Lil Charlie, to go after a world, the most decorated gymnast in America.
Yeah. Never forget.
No, man.
Never forget.
Never.
Yeah. Nor, I'm going to tell you this here. I ain't forgetting about Lil Shawnee either. The fact that Shawnee wants to say he wants to.
Man, you got me laughing at the wrong part. I ain't know where you were going with that. You trying to get me in trouble. I ain't talking about him. Let's go to the next. David, introduce the next clip.
Like it or not. Sean King.
I didn't know who you were talking about. My attorneys, I don't have no. I have nothing to do with what this man to the left of me says.
Yeah, but you hold on right here, man, because understand this. Again,
take my picture down. I ain't got time.
Yeah. You on the NDA, put it straight on me, because check it out. If what we saying that history is so important, and what Brother Malcolm said is absolute truth, that all of a sudden black women are being attacked, you're being drugged down the halls from these clubs in D.C., you're being attacked as a world champion gymnast, you're being attacked on every front. Trust and believe. If we gonna protect them, we gonna protect them. And if that means calling you out, Lil Charlie, we gonna call you out. Sean King, we gonna call you out. You can't be telling me that you want to protect black lives and report on black lives, but the very sisters who are doing it, Sean King, you want to go after them? Get out of here.
My name is Wes.
Like it or not.
Not Professor West. Dr. West is in the building, so I get 100,000 trillion. David, what's the next video?
So, focusing on COVID, looking at the divide. I don't know if walking around on the ground, if you see if everyone's seeing the divide, but we're going to frame this. Look at this next clip, G4, Dwayne, of. I'll get the governor's name when we come back. Sorry, but go to this.
That's fine. Just run the clip. Run the clip. Yeah.
The CDC is asking all of you who are vaccinated to take one for the team once again to protect people who are not vaccinated, but who have the opportunity to do so. Also, I'm guessing that the Venn diagram of people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated and willing to wear a mask is very, very slim, if at all. And so I'm grateful that there are people who are willing to sacrifice and wear masks again to protect the unvaccinated. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm one of those people. I'm really tired. I'm really done with it. And I'm not real excited to have to sacrifice to protect someone who doesn't seem to care.
Governor Spencer Cox, Republican of Utah.
Help me understand.
His name says it all right there.
Brother Bubba, let me go to Brother Mac first.
Wait a minute, man. I'm with you. I need some clarity here because
I didn't understand that.
He was double talking there. I didn't quite understand.
He was.
Let's run it one more time because he's talking out the side of his neck. Let's all try to dissect the gaslighting here. One more again.
The CDC is asking all of you who are vaccinated to take one for the team once again to protect people who are not vaccinated, but who have the opportunity to do so. Also, I'm guessing that the Venn diagram of people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated and willing to wear a mask is very, very slim, if at all. And so I'm grateful that there are people who are willing to sacrifice and wear masks again to protect the unvaccinated. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm one of those people. I'm really tired. I'm really done with it. And I'm not really excited to have to sacrifice to protect someone who doesn't seem to care.
I think I see. It sounds like, okay, so this is not a tough clip, but it's hard to think that you actually have a Republican governor who could. David, you're gonna have to break this down, because it sounds like he's using sarcasm here to say he's tired of people not doing what they're supposed to do to protect themselves.
See, I take it the other way.
For you.
I think this was in response to the CDC. Go ahead, James.
So he's doing that. What are you hearing, James?
What I'm hearing is you taking one for the team, basically saying it's what I'm trying to frame this right so I don't offend anybody. He's basically saying what everybody else in this country is trying to do right now. Since the CDC has asked for us to go back and start wearing masks again, it seems like he's asking his people to wear masks, but he's saying that he's sick of wearing a mask himself and that people are not going to wear their mask anymore.
That's what I get.
No, he's basically saying that, he's not going to wear his mask. So, you can do it if you want to. The CDC says do it, but, don't do it if you don't want to. I'm not going to do it. Okay, you'll be dead, vaccinated or not. It doesn't matter. You're going to still get the damn virus.
And see, Bubba, here's my point, is that it's apparent that he understands the importance of wearing a mask, the safety aspect of it. But he says, I'm sick and tired of doing that. Well, Mr. Governor, need I remind you that you are a public servant? You're not supposed to get tired of trying to do what's in the best interest of your constituents. So when you say you sick and tired of it, then fine, resign. Deuces, man.
Sit down somewhere. I just got, we're going to go to David. Let's get the next clip ready. And then I want to take a break after we go over the next clip. I just got a message from one of the senior advisors for Nina Turner. She wants to come on and discuss some of the aftermath of the election. So let's go through a couple more clips real quick. And she's going to join us in about 15 minutes. That is Council Member Tara Samples from the City Council of Akron, Ohio, that's in the 11th District. In the meantime, let's play this next clip. David, what we got?
So on the flip side, here's Governor Phil Murphy. Dwayne, I'm throwing you a switch. G2. Governor Phil Murphy addressing, I think, protesters or just folks in the press, but he's not having it.
He's not having it with the protesters.
Please get vaccinated. Period. These folks back there have lost their mind. You've lost your minds. You are the ultimate knuckleheads, and because of what you are saying and standing for, people are losing their life. People are losing their life, and you have to know that. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror.
Now, for context, before anyone jumps in, Murphy did lift the mask mandate like months ago. I don't know where New Jersey stands now, but he lifted the mask mandate around the time where all the states initially started to. New Jersey, right next to New York, did lift the mask mandate.
Okay, so just help me to understand this. So the knuckleheads, he's considering those who are wearing masks knuckleheads or those who are not wearing masks?
I believe I believe the people in the crowd he was responding to were anti-vaxxers.
Okay,
so people against the vaccine, and he was basically telling them to quiet down. He doesn't want to hear from them.
Well, I ain't got much to say about it. I think
I like it. I do like the context, David. The context of it's good to see this clip from him, but if he lifted the mask mandate, he needs to put the mask mandate back in place in addition to this clip, because we've become accustomed to signifying from politicians, and then they turn around and do the exact opposite. So this guy needs to. I love the clip. We need to embarrass. Listen, I'm with him on this. Let me tell you where I'm with him the most. It's time out playing nice with these folks who don't want to wear a mask and don't want to get a vaccine. It's time out.
There you go.
Period. Go ahead, bro, Mac.
But Ben, the other thing I like, and if you roll that clip again, let me tell you what I most like. See, I most like the fact that I saw black folk in the background with the mask on. In particular,
the
little sister girl had
little sis in the back. Run that B-roll real quick. Yeah, little sis with her mask on.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, and Ben said it's time out for these people not wearing masks and not get vaccinated. Oh yeah, Ben, we don't have to do nothing. COVID is going to do it for everybody, you know? So
Bro,
at this point, you have to understand that these people that don't want to wear a mask, that don't want to get vaccinated, it's on you. It's a risk that you're going to take, because now once it starts hitting you, you see everybody here, everyone else has their vaccinations and is wearing their mask, and we good. But then it's going to be your ass in the hospital every day on the news. Every day is not failing. It's always a story about somebody that doesn't have the vaccine, didn't believe in wearing a mask. They're in the hospital and they're dying, or on a ventilator, or lost a 17-year-old child.
Yep, but then, Bubba. Well, first of all, back to the clip. It looks like then that this governor got the UN, because I'm assuming there may be some Hispanic brothers and little sisters got a little Karen coming through there. So everybody's, you got some folks doing the right thing all the way around. But to that point, Bubba, how many times have we seen these news clips where they're bringing folks in who were anti-vaxxers? I'm not getting the vaccine. I'm not wearing masks. Now they're in there on the ventilator, and now when they're coming off, and if they can utter anything, I wish I had took the vaccine. Wish I'd have done the mask, please. Yeah. See, that's the situation. Now, unfortunately, my mother just called me, and let's go back to the Obama situation, because I forgot to bring this one point up. I had a cousin down in Jackson who was preparing for a family reunion. And just yesterday, my mother called me and said, Carl, I need you to know that our sheriff down here just died of COVID. Just died. Wow. She says, so Carl, I'm not going to the family reunion. I said, Mama, I ain't going either, because at the time that the family reunion had been planned, and this is the bigger point, at the time that it had been planned, we now had the vaccine in place. This variant wasn't on the scene like it is. But now that this variant has come in, this is a new variable to the plan. So based on this new variable, we got to adjust. This is the same thing that the CDC is doing. In order to say, okay, we can lift the mandate of not wearing a mask, that's because they were dealing with the variables. They felt like they had the variables within COVID under control with the vaccine. We at least know those. But when the variant came in, it was a new variable. So from an engineering standpoint, F is equal to MA. That means force is equal to mass time acceleration. If everybody, if the mass is the same and the acceleration is the same, 5 different people can weigh the same, accelerate the same. The force on you is going to be the same. But if you get 5 different people and they all weigh the same, the mass is the same, but their acceleration is different, then the force is going to be different. So here we are with this variant. This variant is a new variable. So based on the new variable, I cannot use the old safety measures. Now I need to reinstitute what I know appears to be working, and that is the mandate to put the mask back. Bubba, to your point, if you don't want to wear the mask, we'll say it again. We ain't saying you on crack, but you're damn sure acting crackish. Like crackish.
Bro, listen, brother Matt, I just gotta say this. E equals MC squared. Should have bought a Hyundai. Brother Mac just did calculus. Well, I mean, it was calculus, but I love the analytical ability.
Rocket science
that we have on this show. Go ahead, James.
Hey, I'm about to say, before we move on, people have to understand this Delta variant is real. It's people out here that have the vaccine that are still getting very sick, bro. Like, people don't understand that. Y'all have to understand this. News anchors here getting sick in Atlanta had got the vaccine and get this Delta variant. They're having full symptoms still. Y'all,
see, we playing
take this risk if y'all want to, man.
But see, in those cases, they may get sick. But right now, we haven't had those breakthrough cases where we're seeing a great number of people who have been vaccinated die from it. So at least they're able to recover from it.
They got a fighting chance.
But trust and believe, even if you don't understand F is equal to MA, what you can understand is this. 99+% of people who have died from COVID were not vaccinated. That ain't hard to understand. That ain't hard to understand.
Oh, no, not at all. Especially when. But what I think what's different, David, we're ready for the next one. What's hard for me to understand is that I never expected people to be willing to kill themselves and their children over anything.
anything, politics, fear, vaccines, all that. Like, we're literally looking at people who are choosing to risk death versus getting the vaccine, and we just don't have time for that right now. Go ahead, Berman.
But Ben, I got to tell you, Ben, this stems back to trust and believe this. I believe this with the essence of what I have seen. If negative 45 had taken this serious, his base would have taken it serious. Trust and believe that. But because he didn't take it serious and this thing ran out of control, and now from a political standpoint, it is at the feet of the Republican Party, they are simply doubling down on it. They're doubling down on it, and his base is doubling down. But trust and believe, if he had said, if negative 45 had said, this virus is serious, we're in the middle of something catastrophic, a lifetime that we've never seen before, we need you to wear the mask. We need, as soon as we get the vaccine, we need everybody to take the vaccine. Trust and believe we would not be in the condition that we're in now. The Republican Party is simply doubling down. So when you say you can't believe that people should be able to believe self-preservation, they're doing it at the expense of politics.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And here's what's interesting. James, did you want to get in?
Okay. Go ahead. No, I was going to had a super chat, but go ahead, David.
So here's the flip side. Earlier this week, we showed a clip of Governor Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas basically saying, yes, we're in a state of emergency, but we're open for business. There will be no mandates, zilch, nada. Dwayne, if you have that clip that I just dropped to you, play that. This was just yesterday when the press asked him about the mask.
I signed it at the time because our cases were at a very low point. I knew that it would be overridden by the legislature if I didn't sign it. And I was not supportive of, I'd already eliminated our statewide mask mandate. And so, I signed it for those reasons, that our cases were at a low point. Everything has changed now. And yes, in hindsight, I wish that had not become law. But it is the law, and the only chance we have is either to amend it or for the courts to say that it has an unconstitutional foundation.
I love and hate it. These people they have mastered the art of putting sociopathy in suits. Like the propaganda, the doublespeak, talking out both sides of your neck at the expense of human life, all wrapped into Brooks Brothers suits. Y'all, we are being sold high-priced murder.
Yeah, but Ben, I saw it differently, right? So this is what I saw through my eyes. You know, they say you can learn even from a fool, right? And so what I saw was this. I saw what I've always believed in, and that being one of the traits of true leadership. In leadership, if you take a course based on the information you got, that's fine. But if new information comes out to tell you that the course that you're traveling is wrong, true leadership will change course. So I saw that. That's what I heard in him. I heard him say that, look, when we had this thing under control and our numbers were low, we signed law saying, let's lift the mask. I get it, because I too did the same thing. Once I got vaccinated, before I knew that new variant, and I learned about the new variant on like it or not, once I understood that new variant, damn it, I had to put that mask back on. And that's what I heard the governor say. So he could be a Republican, he could be whatever. But what I thought I heard him say was, when the stats were low, we put a ban against masks. You don't have to wear a mask. Now that the new variant is coming and this thing is kicked up again, we're reinstituting the mask. Now,
one caveat, Brother Carl, is that, and I'm not certain about this in Arkansas, but I believe it's the case, and I know other states have done this. I think the law that he signed actually prohibited local municipalities and local cities from actually having their own mask mandates. I know they have that in Texas. I'm not sure about other states. Some in the South have done that, and I believe Arkansas was one of them. So the law didn't just remove the mandate, but it actually prohibited mandates from people within the states.
So that's crazy. What you're saying then, that if I had Max Restaurant, and I said, while in Arkansas, at Max Restaurant, in order for you to come to my restaurant, you must have a mask on
I don't know if private businesses have had the power to do it, but
I can give that. Let me get that clarity, David. Let me get that clarity, because we had that exact thing, James. You remember here, and Rebecca mentioned it yesterday. Shout out to Rebecca. Atlanta is experiencing internet issues. It's not just Rebecca. I'm not going to clown her today. It's Atlanta. But the city of Atlanta had that same exact dilemma with Keisha Lance Bottoms. Keisha Lance Bottoms tried to institute a citywide mask mandate, but the governor, Brian Kemp, jumped in and signed into law a restriction not allowing any cities or municipalities in the state to institute their own independent private businesses. They have the right to do it still. But I think that's what the distinction you were trying to give us, right, David?
Okay.
David.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right. Let's go. Before we get, because I want to get through all these clips before Council Member Tara Samples joins us to give us a recap. She was one of the senior advisors for Nina Turner, and she was obviously in the 11th District. Let's get one more video in before she joins us. Go ahead, David.
So here's Governor John Bell Edwards, a Democrat, Louisiana, and that is the final clip, Dwayne.
Do you give a damn? I hope you do. I do. I've heard it said often, Louisiana is the most pro-life state in the nation. I want to believe that. It ought to mean something. In this context, it ought to mean something.
I like that framing. Because of what I picked up from it is an argument that I've heard someone else make. I think it was on this show. For these people to claim that they're pro-life, they sure don't care about all the death that's happening around us, Brother Mac.
Look, I ain't got nothing else to say. It was pretty
Brother Bubba.
That's it right there. And I'll read this super chat real quick from Infinite Content. He says, panel, there is now a Delta Plus variant.
I was getting ready to say.
No one asked for this song to be remixed. Dr. Mac, the entropy of the universe is always increasing.
There you go.
Right.
The entropy. Hey, I ain't heard that term. Who said that?
That was Infinite Content.
Infinite Content. He's one of our big peoples in the chat. He sends us stories and is always participating. So shout out to Infinite Content.
But see, he know and I know that word. He said entropy. I know. You watch that chat now. That's what y'all do.
And it was capitalized. Okay, let me make sure. I think it was capitalized.
Right.
Oh, it was. Okay, he said always capitalized.
Yeah, right.
It's going to always be the final question. What's our Asimov, the science fiction writer writing about entropy? Shout out to Infinite Content for dropping that Easter egg in the middle of our conversation
but
that.
Listen, but the point is just that. You know, we're hearing about this new plus variant that's coming.
Come on, man.
You know, again, this is what we're saying. This virus is not. It is a living organism. It is trying its best to survive. So it is going to mutate again. And every time it does it, what you used for a solution against his brother, well, the brother now had children. The children then had children. So now we're talking about the grandchildren of COVID. They're a little bit different than their granddaddy. And so as those variables change, we have to be willing to change. So if they say one day we need to wear the mask because we dealt with COVID, well, now that the variant has come, you dealt with COVID. So, okay, you've been vaccinated, you don't need the mask. The variant is coming. We don't quite understand how this thing is working because all of our vaccines ain't seem to be working here. So let's reinstitute the mask. Now you got the variant plus coming. They may tell you, hey, check it out. Those masks you used to wear, we need you to get a specific type of mask. Everybody has to have the N95s.
Yeah.
I don't know. But what we need to do is understand this is the way that you reach a solution. You don't reach a solution by changing all the variables at the same time. But you do reach that solution certainly by recognizing when new variables come into play.
Bro, Mac, I'm in line with the stars. James, we need to hear that song because you talking about variables. I done did a whole. You've been talking about variables all episode. And last night I was working on something, and it was absolutely dealing with trying how to manage all the variables that I got going on in my head, and people like just the way you're talking about that. Let's take a quick break. Play us some good music. When we come back, we're going to try to extend this conversation a little bit further with Council Member Tara Samples from the City of Akron City Council. She was a senior advisor for Nina Turner in the race for the 11th Congressional District. That race is now over. The establishment won, and we're going to be discussing that with Sister Samples very briefly. That said, DJ Exclusive, take us to a quick break. More Like It or Not after this.
It's DJ Dwayne on the track today. He's helping us get through while we have some technical difficulties with my DJ and equipment. Anyway, shout out to Dwayne, man, hardest working man in the background. Shout out to you, Dwayne. David is too. I give David his props. David do a little bit. Let me stop playing. Shout out to both of y'all, man. Producers, they do an amazing job. So shout out to y'all, man. Shout out again to everybody that's checking us out in the chat room. Dwayne, did you get that? If you can grab that video I sent you, maybe we can get that played right here. That'd be awesome. Brenda Johnson said COVID is going through the entire Greek alphabet until we realize that we are dealing with the virus and not global politics. My gosh, Brenda, absolutely. When I say it's going through the entire Greek alphabet, people are not understanding. So you're absolutely right. Shout out to Brenda again. Thank you so much again, Brenda. Brad 1984, good morning. What's going on? Savage Sweetheart, I feel like I didn't speak to you this morning, and I apologize. Good morning, Sister Savage Sweetheart. A Lady 747, good morning.
Crazy how the melodies began to play, yeah. Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah. My heart's in Stockholm. Now I never want.
Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. We got some great stuff coming up. Brother Chuck Diesel, do your thing, brother. I see you, man. Thank you so much. Oh, somebody said the Omega. Wait till we get to the Omega variant. That sounds like it's the Thanos of the damn COVID virus. That's exactly what it is. It's Thanos of COVID. Delta is just Loki right now. And like Sister Noah said, yes, child. COVID has more variants than the TVA. Hey, Dwayne, I'm not sure if you heard me. Were you able to get that video? Yeah.
Everybody knows your name. Everybody knows your name.
Okay. All right. And y'all, my mom in the chat room saying she just made grits and she ain't called me and said nothing. I feel some type of way. Just because of that, Mama's about to get another joke. So we're going to tell a joke from Mama this morning. Okay? Oh, God. Okay, here we go. What do you call a camel in a drought? a dry humper. Oh gosh. And Dr. Mack is in the background falling out, y'all.
I actually didn't even get to hear it. I'm gonna have to hear it on replay. I just sat back down.
This is why I need to go ahead and get this system fixing this music, because if not, I'm gonna be telling jokes.
Oh, is that what's going on? Is it because your DJ equipment is down? You're now bringing us all the dad jokes. Is that what it is?
Oh man, I'm about to do stand-up comedy for the next.
Did I tell y'all about the time I tried to do stand-up comedy? I'll tell y'all about it another time.
Ben, yeah. I'm gonna get a few jokes from Ben next time.
Let's just say that video is going to be worth millions of dollars one day because, man, it was cringe. Let's do a hard shift. It's always very difficult to go back into the professionalism necessary to talk about the kind of issues we need to talk about, but we don't give a damn. We're going to do it anyway. Coming to the screen now. Is my sister from another mister. I had the pleasure of meeting with her and canvassing and marching around the city and capturing images of the fabulous campaign that was happening in the 11th Congressional District of Ohio. On the screen now is Council Member Tara Samples. She was a senior advisor for Nina Turner's campaign for Congress. Council Member, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
I am well this morning. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me. And thank you for coming to Akron. I appreciate you.
Well, listen, the coming to Akron was probably the best decision I ever made in my life because I had kind of an epiphanic moment, like an epiphany there, riding the scooter. I was living like a bourgeoisie person riding downtown in the little scooters that y'all had. Downtown is nice. It's nice. I felt like I was like, I felt like white supremacy wasn't even a thing for a few minutes there. That's how good I felt.
You hadn't been here long enough. I'm sorry.
I didn't go to the right side of town. Anyway, let's unpack. I'm glad we're laughing this morning because you put in a lot of time. The number one thing I was impressed with was when I got to town. And David, if you don't mind bringing up some of the images, particularly the ones on my timeline of or anything that you could bring, because what I saw when I got there was a team that was energized, organized, and grounded in the community. Yeah. I talk with, as I was riding the scooter, you know how it goes in Akron, where you ride that trail a little bit longer and you end up in the hood. You go from downtown to the hood. I saw signs everywhere for Nina Turner. And it didn't matter what side of town you were on. It didn't matter what economic strata you were in, whether you were wealthy or whether you were working class, whether you were in the projects, whether you were in everywhere I went. And people I talked to, the people who are in the city, they wanted Nina Turner. But when we talk about special elections, we do have to take in consideration the very strong reality that it is built off of super voters more than anything else. Just give us a snapshot of what you're feeling, how you're doing, because I know you put a lot of time into this.
Yeah, I think this election exposed the Democratic Party for what and who they are. And that's just me being blunt. The fact that you had a candidate that could have actually bridged, maybe even mend in some sorts of the fractured party that we all belong to, someone who would have brought thousands of young people to this party, didn't matter to them. They went with the establishment. They went with a candidate that had a Republican super PAC we call dark evil money, come in and decide this election for the people who needed Senator Turner most. And it's disappointing and it's sad, but it is the reality. We live to fight another day. This journey is not over. We know that in our communities, there is a cry for help, and it was ignored on Tuesday, and it's unfortunate.
I've been communicating with Senator Turner, and I know you have probably in very frequently as this unfolded. How is she doing?
Oh, she's fine. You sit and you just have to unpack and analyze where these numbers came from, and it's unfortunate that we had this super PAC. The DMFI PAC was this pro-Jewish PAC, Republican PAC, and I will keep saying that because people need to understand who they are, come in and put millions and millions of dollars into making sure people thought that Senator Turner was this evil person who didn't like Jewish people, which was so far from the truth. And although she had lots of Jewish support, including Senator Bernie Sanders is Jewish, there were people who actually believed that. There were people who actually believed that Senator Turner voted for Trump, which we all know was a damn lie. But there were people who didn't take the time to actually do the research. I appreciate those who actually took the time and saw past the smoke and mirrors to do the research. We can go back and look at Senator Turner on CNN, where she was the one who called Trump out for his racism and what he was doing to this country. So how do you call somebody out for their racism, but yet you supported them? It makes no sense. But I mean, there were people who were wasn't willing to do the research, and they believed this group who thought it was okay to darken a Black woman's skin up, who thought it was okay to find every picture they thought made her look angry, who thought it was okay to flash a picture of a lighter skinned woman versus a darker skinned woman, and our community fell for it. I think that's the part that's most disappointing to me, is that our community, the Black and brown community, not all but some, fell for that.
Well, to that test, I mean, I did speak with people, and I want to go through a couple of things. Let's go through a couple of specific things that you mentioned. You mentioned the pro-Israeli PAC, and when we say pro-Israeli, we're really speaking about a pro-right-wing Israeli government. This is not a PAC that represents the entirety of the Jewish community, and this is one of the games that this is one of the games that they play. One of the games that they play is that they get an organization that has the appearance that they represent the totality of the Jewish community or the totality of the Black community, kind of like they did with James Clyburn. They get someone who looks like a portion of our community. They send them into the city intentionally to undermine this race. I saw those ads that you were talking about. I literally saw how her skin was darkened. This is not hyperbole. We see this tactic all the time. They made her skin darker, and they made it seem like she was simultaneously an angry Black woman, but also a subservient Black woman. And I just don't know how that adds up.
Exactly. And I think that, I mean, when we really look on the surface of things, you know, you have people who will really believe James Clyburn came here, decided to race, had nothing to do with it. These votes came out of Beechwood. It was a highly populated Jewish community. Our vote. So let's break it down. What happened?
Do we have the? I'm sure you guys have the data showing that. Okay, so tell us where those votes came from again.
Those votes came out of the suburbs. The suburbs carried her. The city of Akron, as a little small snapshot, Senator Turner won the city. She won in every ward. Get this. She won every ward in the city of Akron except for Ward 6, which is the only ward in the city of Akron that voted for Trump. No one in 6F voted at all. There was 193 eligible voters in that precinct. Not one voted for her. So if she was so pro-Trump, Ward 6 is where our Trump base is at. None of them showed up. So,
well, here's the gag, though.
Come on now.
This is the gag, and you know it, and I just want to make sure the audience knows it. There were Republican dollars. Let's drive this point home. There were conservative dollars being spent in the 11th district to stop Nina Turner on behalf of the Democratic establishment. How does that sit well with anybody?
It shouldn't sit well with anybody, but you know, I guess an enemy of my enemy is my friend, but they're all friends anyway. So
yeah. The
money flows back and forth between the two. And I think that people really need to use this as a benchmark as to what they think they're going to do to other progressives across the country. But let me tell you, the midterms are coming. Midterms are coming. And there'll be a whole bunch of people who are really going to see what we were trying to tell them is going to happen. We have no regrets. We just wish our people would have showed up. We just wish they would have showed up, and we would be having a different conversation here. They allow the suburbs to dictate what happens in our Black and brown community.
Because I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to bring Brother Mack into the conversation, but I'm going to tell you, Cleveland and Akron is hella Black. I mean, it is black. It is revolutionary Black. It is Black radical tradition Black. It is Cornel West Black. It is Nina Turner Black. It is Jeremiah Wright Black. And the games of politics and politicians, they understand. I'll be honest with you. I heard quite a few people like they really, it is the burden of going out in a special election that the Democrats are really counting on. And they knew who they can get to come out They knew they get to come out, and that's why they didn't mind those dollars being spent the way they were. Brother Mac, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want you to join the conversation.
Councilwoman, again, thank you so much for coming on. And I had a chance to speak to Sister Turner, and I told her specifically that you were such an informative representative of hers, and that's the reason why I made the contribution to her campaign that I did at the maximum amount I could. So good to see you again, and thank you so much. But listen, what is the population of the suburbs versus the city? So, and the reason I'm asking is because if we're saying that the city is pro-Black, it was pro-Nina Turner, just give us an idea of the number of voters that came out in the city versus those that came out in the suburbs. Because again, let's just assume a zero-sum game where everybody in the city voted for Turner, but everybody in the suburbs would have voted against her. Would just the tyranny of numbers sway the election if it was just that way?
I believe that if the Black community would have shown up, it would have been able to offset what happened in the suburbs. I can't really talk about the snapshot of the numbers in Colquitt County, but I can in Summit County. Now, Colquitt County, Beechwood, Shaker, they showed up, and they showed up early. Absentee voters, which we know would be the older voters, they want someone that they believe in their mind what they consider prim and proper. They voted early, and we knew that those numbers would be going to Brown's favor because those were older people, those real establishment Dems that they were looking for. When I looked at our numbers here in Summit County, it probably was around 4 o'clock, and I stress that we were going to have coverage in the suburbs, no matter what. I didn't care what the data showed. I knew they were going to show up because they just do. We sent someone, and we had them sit out at these polling locations, and they noticed that I want to see the number as to how many Republicans pulled a Democratic ballot. I'm waiting to see those numbers. That's very important in this. I believe a lot of them crossed over because one trend that we noticed up in Richfield Township was there was a lot of Republicans showing up. And I said, well, we need to see that data to figure out how many of them actually pulled a Democratic ballot, because I know it was happening. It absolutely was happening.
So help me to understand this. In Maryland, you have to claim your party affiliation. And once you claim your party affiliation, so if I'm claiming Democratic, I can't go and vote in a Republican primary. Are you saying that you don't have to claim party affiliation and Democrats can vote in Republican primaries and vice versa?
Yeah, you can go in. If I'm a Democrat and I go in and I say, give me a Republican ballot, they'll give you a Republican ballot.
That's right.
And that's Ohio. But here's the problem in Ohio, and I'm hoping that, our activists, this is something that they need to take up as a mantle. If you're an independent voter here in the state of Ohio, when you go in to get your ballot, you are only allowed to vote on issues. You're allowed to vote on candidates in a primary. Wow. To me, you are disenfranchising voters because they won't declare a party. And there's more independent voters in the state of Ohio than the Democrats Republicans put together. So that scares them. But I'm hoping this is one of those watershed moments where our people wake up and say, you know what? Nothing is going to change unless we change it, because they're comfortable with it being the way it is, because, the powers of be, the D's and the R's stay in power. And that's the way they want it.
Yeah, but the other side of what I'm hearing is, it is possible that, let's assume you're just talking about Republicans. It's a Republican primary. It's 2 Republican candidates. And one is the more evil than the other. Democrats can affect which of those are elected. So you could just literally flood the Republican primaries, or, if you know that they got Republican candidates and you got your Democratic candidates, and then there's going to be a runoff between the 2 parties, you could literally go in and choose the weaker, let's not say evil, but you could choose the weaker of the candidates. The Democrats can go in and vote for the weaker of the Republican candidate, bring him or her to the slate, and now have your strongest candidate from the Democratic Party against the weakest of the Republican Party.
That's exactly
so they allow that kind of cross-pollination of voting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And here it gets even deeper when you really think about it. We have a candidate that the voters are sending to the general election who is under investigation. Our attorney general is a Republican.
Oh, Lord.
There is a Republican on the ballot in the general election. Need I
felt
say
that
more?
coming. If we lose this seat.
Wait. Hold on, Ben, before you go on. Because, see, you all are intimate with it. So are you saying that Sister Brown, who won the election against Sister Turner, is under investigation?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And now she is going to be in a runoff with a Republican for this seat.
That's right.
A black woman who's a Republican at that.
A black woman who's a Republican too? In a black city?
Okay.
Yes.
Now a lot of things make sense to me. A lot of things make sense. And I hope folks can follow it. So Ben, you're far more politically astute than I am. But if you could, based on the questions that I asked, simply tell us in layman's terms what just happened.
Will do. I'll follow your lead. Go for it, Doc.
So I mean, what I'm hearing is clearly Sister Turner was the absolute strongest for us as a people of the two candidates. So
That's
now
correct.
let's let the other party go in and say, we can't bring her to the forefront of it. So let's vote for, and again, we don't know Sister Brown, but if she's under investigation, they're looking at that Achilles heel and saying, okay, if we bring Brown in and get Brown elected, then when it comes to the major runoff, we're going to absolutely annihilate her behind this investigation charges. And we'll win that hands down, whereas Sister Turner would have been a far more formidable candidate. Now, I don't know if I'm simplifying it or if I'm too simple with that, but that's
let me show you why. Let me show you why you're so correct, and then, Sister Councilmember Samples, you can confirm based on your experiences. As I was in Cleveland, I talked to several people who voted for Donald Trump, who made it clear that they did so because they want no parts of the Clinton machine. We now have Shontel Brown, who is, again, like I said, I have not met her or spoken with her, but if she is vulnerable in a way that a Republican attorney general can exploit, and you know they will, her being under investigation, because that's what they do, they are going to run up the scoreboard and take that seat for the Republican Party in the general election. That's my estimation. Sister Samples, what do you think?
I agree 100%.
And the problem is that they're ready for they take that. That's a cost benefit analysis for the Democratic Party. They're willing to take that loss to stop somebody like Sister Nina Turner.
So, Sister,
isn't that terrible?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So help me. Why? At first, I never understood why the state of Maryland would require me as a voter to declare my party. I should be able to change and go with whatever party I want to. And when I thought more about it, I came up with the scenario that, in my mind, this could potentially happen. Whereas now in Ohio, I'm watching that played out. So I understand why they would make you declare a party so that the other party don't go in and vote for your weak candidate, knowing that when I bring your weak candidate to face off against my stronger opponent or my stronger candidate, we have a chance to absolutely win that. So literally, Republicans can affect. This is a serious game. So is there any movement to have the state of Ohio to have voters to declare their party, and so that you don't have this type of games being played within the election process?
Well, I would say probably about 18 months ago, I did speak with some high-ranking officials about, them down in the legislature changing that rule where people would be able to vote without declaring a party and be able to vote for candidates. And they said the Democrats and Republicans never let that happen. They just straight told me that they will not let it happen. And here, think about this. Not only if I go in a primary and say, I'm a Democrat, but I'll pull a Republican ballot so I can vote for this Republican, you now are a Republican until the next primary. You can't go back in and change your party anytime during the year. You are now a Republican until the next primary. registered Republican. If someone pulls your name, there's an R next to it. But this happens. It happens to someone that I know. It happened to someone during when Kasich was on the ballot. There's a lot of people who like Kasich. She was a Democrat, had been a Democrat for over 25 years, but she wanted to make sure, a whole bunch of people wanted to make sure Trump didn't win Ohio. They switched their parties to Republican, and they all voted for Kasich. That's how Kasich won Ohio. Well, when she went back to try to change her party affiliation back to Democrat, they wouldn't either. She was stuck being a Republican until the next primary, but she wanted to run for judge. And guess what? She ended up having to run for judge, and now she's a Republican because they wouldn't let her take party back.
Okay, but again, every time there's an election, when I go to the polls, at that point, I can ask for either ballot I want, correct?
Correct.
And so let's assume that there's, I don't know, hypothetically, there's an election every 2 years, or hell, let's say something comes up and there's 2 elections in the same year. I can go to the polls and ask for a Republican ballot. They'll give it to me. When the next election come up, I can go to the polls and say, well, I want a Democratic ballot, and they'll give me that one.
Absolutely.
Good Lord.
And it allows for the type of games that you see that you spotted right away, Dr. Mack. It allows for them to consolidate power and maintain power amongst themselves by manipulating the system as needed based on who the opponent is. And in this case, the thing, Sister Samples, I'm not going to hold you long because I know you all have the next phase, because this doesn't mean that this is the end. There's always the next phase.
Oh, no, definitely not.
The thing that bothers me the most is that I feel like they hunted down Sister Turner to her home district, and with their petty vendetta. And they have been doing this to Sister Turner since 2016 because she was the one black woman. Well, she was one of the most vocal black women who decided, I'm good on Hillary Clinton. I'm going to go with Bernie Sanders. And they have been executing a petty judgment against her, vendetta against her ever since. Go ahead.
Absolutely. We are free black women over here, and they don't like that. She can vote and support whomever she wants as I can. And it's like, we're not fall in line black women. We may not, say it the way they want us to say it. We're not prim and proper, but we're proper. But that shouldn't say anything about the love she has for people. And people have no idea the things that Senator Turner has went through since supporting Senator Sanders. We'll talk about the death threats, even in this race, people calling and threatening her. And I mean, this is a beautiful woman who cares about people, and y'all are attacking her just because she cares about her people. And that's sad.
Okay, so Sister Samples, let me make sure I get, again, I love being on the outside of this situation, but trying to listen intently. So what and just say, no, Brother Mack, you're not correct there. You're a little too simple. But what I'm hearing is that Sister Turner ran against, her opponents were Clyburn, the Clintons, the old guard of damn near the entire echelon of Democrats, the Jewish community, Republicans, Trump supporters, and Brown.
And I want to be sure. I want to be sure here, Brother Mack, because of the way I want to be sure to contextualize this, because one of the things that they would do in the future is to take that clip and try to use that against you in the way that they used it against Hillary. Well, no, I want to make this distinction, though. It wasn't the Jewish community so much as the portion of the Israeli community that listened to that propaganda that was being spent by Republican dollars.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me say this then. Let me say this. And okay, one thing about righteousness, and again, when you speak from the community, if the Jewish community saw themselves being used in this election, did they step forward and say, no, this is not the way the Jewish community feels? Did they do that?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
The reason I'm glad you asked this, I want you to elaborate more, because I actually had that exact experience as I tried to explain to a black person who was suffering from the same propaganda that was being spread. I had to convince a couple of black people that the lies that they saw in those ads. So, Sister Samples, that propaganda campaign, that was an effective campaign.
Oh, the propaganda, listen, propaganda, dark money, evil money won this election. Sid, No, they won this election, and the establishment, they won this election. It had nothing to do about the candidate. This was all about Nina Turner.
They probably hadn't even met Chantel Brown.
Listen, let me tell you what. I said this, and some people may see it as disrespect, but it's the truth. Some of these people who support her, I never even met her. I actually said to one of the electeds who supported her, if they used to stick her in a room with 5 other light-skinned girls, they wouldn't even know which one she was. And that was me being real as a light-skinned woman, because they didn't even know. They got a call from the now Secretary of HUD, and all of them fell in line, which she shouldn't have been able to do, but it happened anyway, and everybody knows it happened. And it's sad because no one even knew her. It's not even about her. I don't even think this is not even about her. This is about them maintaining power and them putting Senator Turner in her place. That's all this was.
Okay, but Sister Samples, I still, answer this question for me. If the propaganda was coming out to make Sister Turner appear anti-Semitic, and they knew it was wrong, was there any force within the Jewish community that came out to speak against the wrong campaign there? Was there anybody that came
absolutely
out to correct
yes,
that?
Brother Matt, there were several Jewish pillars in the Collier County area, and down here in Summit County, who spoke out against it. Articles went in papers. The Jewish newspapers said something about it. They said she is the candidate. They did their part. However, you're talking about a group of people who really believed in her, and you're talking about millions of dollars in propaganda that came in. So the millions of dollars in propaganda that came in from this pro-Trump group, they won. Money won. People believe that. I spent so much time trying to defend those commercials than I did the work that she has done across this state for the last 20 years.
Wow.
Okay, and then with that said, and Brother Ben, I certainly appreciate you contextualizing, the list of opponents that I put down, and as I had the Jewish community as one of them. And so with now, Sister Sample, you saying no, there were members of the Jewish community that came out and forced to say, no, this is not where Sister Turner stands. So let me be clear. Of the list of opponents, I take off the Jewish community. Thank you so much for standing up for what is right. Appreciate you.
But they're taking credit for it.
I want to ask. I want to. Let's talk about what's next, because one thing I'm confident of about Sister Turner, Senator Turner, is that this is just one stop. That it ain't gonna stop what she's doing. I know you all may not have made any projections of what's the next move, but just kind of give us an idea of what we can expect coming up. After you get some rest, that is, because you need a break.
We are on a justice journey. We may be taking a couple of days off, but the fight continues. We're not going anywhere. We've got work to do, not just here in the state of Ohio, but across this country. We need to make sure that we're in this space uplifting progressive candidates across the country, because what they did to Senator Turner, they will try again somewhere else. And again, we have midterms coming up, and we need to make sure that no one who speaks for people have to deal with a DMFI PAC smearing their names all over their districts.
The best way, and Sister Samples, thank you, first of all, for your work. And and I wish that you would express to the team, all those people, wonderful people I met that I saw working and just being diligent and energetic, organizing, knocking on doors. Please extend our gratitude to them and encourage them to keep on fighting. And most of all, let Sister Turner, Senator Turner, know that there are thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people who support her. And we see, I see what you're saying. I see what we got to do now. Right. I think it's crystal clear what has to be done. And we're going to organize and strategize and mobilize around that. Council member Tara Samples from Akron and the 11th Congressional District Senior Advisor for the Nina Turner for Congress campaign. Sis, thank you so much and be encouraged. We're going to win.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Sister, thank you so much for bringing such clarity. I certainly appreciate the dialogue. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, Brother Mac. We'll talk soon. You guys have a wonderful one.
Take care.
Yes,
Brother Mac, it is always a pleasure to be able to spend this much time with a distinguished brother as yourself.
Yeah.
I'm about to hit these streets. and go try to break some news. No, I got to be clear. I'm going to do some work. I got my bike here. I'm about to go out here and do some investigations, talk with some folks from Amazon. Appreciate you being here, holding it down for us, Doc.
But yeah, Ben, it's a pleasure. But listen, here's something I want to say about that conversation we just had. Clearly, these are the types of conversation of clarity that we need, and that'll bring insight to folks. You and Sister Samples obviously had a far greater understanding of the politics in Ohio than I did. Yeah. And I certainly appreciate both of you being very open to entertain, my very elementary questions about trying to understand it. But again, in trying to understand, it certainly brought light to understand it, because so many times we'll say the games they play in politics. Man, right. I tell you, and it hit me like, it just hit me like it was an epiphany to me, because again, I remember distinctly, why is it that the state of Maryland is trying to make me choose or tell them what party I'm in? And now we just saw it play out. And the same with all the opponents that were stepping up against her. When I'm hearing the Jewish community, and I say, well, so were they an enemy as well? And you all say, well, hold on, Brother Mac, they weren't, because there were members in the Jewish community who came out and said, no, this smear campaign to make us, to try to paint her as anti-Semitic, that's not about us. So I certainly appreciate them correcting the record with it. But again, when you look at these folks, some people are going to want to believe what they want to believe. There are members in our community who believe that we shouldn't be vaccinated, that this is some big conspiracy to put some microchip in us, and then they're not going to get vaccinated. They're not going to wear the mask. Some folks are just going to go down the path they want to. And, and it is what it is. But I tell you what, this conversation between you and Sister Samples to allow me to sit in was so illuminating to why we have to be strategic in understanding politics in this country.
Well, I think what is critical to advancing the plight of Black people in this country is our ability to connect these stories across generations and across interests. And I say that very specifically because it is the fact that you asked these. See, we've been so tied up into this thing for so long that we use acronyms, we use shorthand. We dropping equations and we need to. Part of the struggle is that we need to make sure that we take the time to explain the very clear stakes that are involved in these issues. And if there are games being played, let's enumerate them. So thank you for bringing that level of discourse, because we need to not talk over people's heads. The issues that we got to win around, we need to be talking right at everyone's level. And we all know that you're a brilliant man. So thank you for playing that role to make sure that we are filling in all the gaps.
Listen, I was just trying to get an understanding. And I'll tell you, on top of all the things that we've already discussed, one of the things that Sister Sample said is that if you had lined up Representative Brown with 4 other women, the people who showed up to vote for her couldn't even tell you who she was. That is an indictment about how serious they were to trying to stop Sister Turner. Good Lord. Man, thank
David,
you so
I'm going to tell you what, if nothing else is clipped from today's episode, clip that 5 seconds. Let's put that out. Brother Mac, DJ Exclusive, Georgia Fort, Rebecca Azor, not in today, but thank you so much, Sister Rebecca. We'll see you tomorrow. DJ Exclusive, as always. Noah Changa is going to come and hang out with us tomorrow. Put the graphic back up on the screen one more time. I want y'all just take a second to send some gratitude to my sister, because she's been clutch. Noah Changa, send her a love token at Cash App, The Way with the Noah, and we will see you all tomorrow. Well, before we go, bring it up on the screen, though. I want to make sure folks see it. The Way at a Noah, Cash App. You and me lost trust. That city life will